Hello ladies and gentlemen, MarauderEX here with kind of a rant video, I guess is where you can classify this one. All last week I saw stories about Gamestop being in the news about their new Circle of Life program and how it encourages employees to lie to customers. And I have an interesting perspective on this because I worked for Gamestop for a while before the Circle of Life started. But I also worked for Barnes & Noble back when they were a weird partnership between the two companies. They would exchange like employee discounts and even employees. That's actually how I got into GameStop, is I worked at Barnes & Noble and transitioned over to GameStop because they were so closely linked at the time. So I have an interesting internal and external perspective about this that I kind of wanted to just give my thoughts on because it's a clusterfuck. It really is. So for those of you who don't know what this is, the Circle of Life program is a series of metrics. I believe it's 4 metrics that each employee is graded on during their transactions. So it's things like getting reservations, selling the membership card, taking in trade-in materials. I forget what the 4th one is. I don't care. Those 3 are enough to give you an idea of what the program is like. So if you come in and you reserve a game, you hit one of the 4 metrics. If that's all you do, you walk in specifically to reserve a game, you hit one of the 4 metrics, which, you know, is good, but not great. Because that one transaction shows that, but like you didn't trade anything in, so the other metrics kind of suffer. And so you have certain goals you have to hit for these metrics. But the thing is, GameStop is retail. A lot of people like to say it's sales. It's not sales. It's a retail sales environment, but it's not sales. The difference is sales, typically you have quotas that you have to meet. You meet them, you're doing well. If you exceed them, you get compensated for exceeding them. You get a commission, you get a bonus, you get something for doing better than the quota. Retail, you don't get that. Retail, you get to keep your job. That's the bonus to that, is you hit these quotas, but you don't get any sort of, you know, extra compensation for going above and beyond. And because going above and beyond really just benefits the company line, not yours, that's the thing. So this program, you hit these metrics, and the problem is employees are having to lie, bend the rules, bend the truth, break the rules, and to avoid having these metrics drop, because it's reached a point where they could lose their job if they do not hit these metrics. So using the example, you walk in, you do a reservation, you've increased that one metric. Well, you want to go in and cancel a reservation. That's even worse, because that doesn't count. Does more damage because you are canceling something. You are taking a transaction which is already going to lower their metrics, and you're taking something away from that, which hurts even more. So when I worked at GameStop, there were a lot of shady practices. There were instances where people would say you could not cancel a reservation without the original receipt, which is not company policy at all. But it was never something actively discouraged by the company, because in the end, you weren't losing as many reservations, and it still sounded enough like an actual policy that people would just kind of give up on it half the time. So they'd either go home, you know, not be able to find their original receipt, or if they did, they'd bring it back in, or the employee would, you know, compromise and say, oh, well, you can't cancel it, but I can switch it to something else. So they're technically not losing anything, because, you know, you cancel a reservation to take that money to put it on another reservation, come out at a net zero. So I mean, there were instances like that. And back when I worked at GameStop, that was the only metric we were really graded on. That was the only one that they had at that time, is we had to have reservations at a set number. That was our goal. Now, the problem is GameStop's corporate mindset. There were a lot of videos talking about how these corporate policies and mindsets are derived by people who've never actually worked retail. They're people who went to college to get like MBAs, accounting degrees, business management degrees, marketing degrees, things like that, that have never actually worked in the retail setting. So they come up with these ideas based off of other companies that have, a different sales attitude in general, and apply them to their company in a way that they've never had to experience. And that happens a lot. I've actually personally I've had someone come up with register policy while I was a head cashier that have never worked a register before, and their policy was just so poorly implemented that it hurt the overall shopping experience for the customer, because I had to do things in a very set way. Otherwise, it either hurt me as an employee, it hurt some sort of invisible metric, or it was against policy, and if I was caught doing it, I would get in trouble for just doing it the different way. So I've seen things like that. I've experienced things like that. And it sucks. It really does. Because, like I said, it's the corporate mindset is just, we want these particular numbers, but we're not going to give you any sort of incentive or bonus to hit these numbers other than keeping your job. And if you remember the movie Office Space, he has a line, the main character has a line about, you only want to do the bare minimum to just not get fired or not get hassled. So your own corporate mindset is breeding this mentality of, I'm only going to do the bare minimum because I see no bonus to it. I see no incentive to do it other than to not get fired. So I'm going to do what I can to just not get fired. And in some cases, that may mean bending the truth or breaking rules, or outright lying to customers. Because, you might have that one employee that's just had a really bad week in terms of, a lot of people coming in and canceling on them. Maybe it's, the third key manager who's working, 8 hours a day alone because the store doesn't have the hours to have any of their part-time employees there helping out. So he's going to take all of these transactions, good or bad. And maybe you just happen to be the last transaction of the day and you're canceling like 3 pre-orders that's going to completely destroy his numbers. And, maybe it's his last chance. I could see him lying. Doing whatever he could to be like, you know what, I don't want to lose my job today. So I'm going to take the chance of doing something shady to screw over a customer to not get fired today. It happens. It happens more than you'd think. Because that is the mindset in which GameStop breeds. Because they have this whole Wonderland idea of, oh, gamers, everyone loves games. You come into GameStop, you're a gamer. You obviously like games. If you want to work for GameStop, you gotta love games. You want to work around them, sell them all the time. They try to make the commercials look like, stores full of employees like goofing off and just having all these jokes. It's not like that a lot of the time. It really isn't. Because they will also treat you poorly for the privilege of working around games. They will pay you as little as humanly possible. Whatever the minimum wage is that they can get away with paying you, they will pay that minimum wage. They will treat you like criminals. They have security cameras that you don't know about. Like I said, I worked as a manager there. We have obvious security cameras and then we have not obvious security cameras. The obvious ones are there to protect you from shoplifting. The not obvious ones are there to make sure the employees don't do something shady. Because, again, you breed this mindset of doing the bare minimum and treating people like criminals, which I'll hit the final point of that in a second. People kind of do shady stuff. So it sucks. And then the last one is the pocket checks. For those of you who've never worked at a GameStop, they will make you do pocket checks. You have to empty out your pockets, in pants, jacket, purse, whatever, to show that you are not stealing things from the company. Because they just automatically assume because they are paying you next to nothing, you're going to steal. And again, you have that mindset. You have that corporate mentality of, if we're going to treat you like a criminal, it kind of makes people start thinking, well, maybe if they're going to treat me like this, maybe? Like, again, I was a manager. I was trusted with the deposits, taking money to the bank, bringing money from the bank. They trusted me to put money in my car and drive away. They trusted me to open and close the store by myself. They trusted me with access to the safe. They trusted me with being able to take in and send out shipments, open boxes, do inventories. But if there was ever anyone else there, I had to empty out my pockets to prove that I'm not stealing a DS game. Because if I'm going to steal a DS game, that's how I'm not going to just walk away with a deposit around Christmas time. Which one of these is more likely to happen? Really. But I had to do that. And then, like I said, the cameras. They're security cameras that most of the employees, I'd say a good 75% of the employees don't know that they're being monitored on other cameras that are more than the ones that they just see. It's a very Big Brother type mindset in GameStop's corporate culture. It really is. And, you know, part of me thinks that it's because you're kind of treating people like dirt. Yeah, they're going to try to take advantage. They're going to try to do something to make being treated like dirt worthwhile. You treated them a little better, they might not do this. But, you know, that's a whole different story mindset. But it is what it is. I'm not at all surprised hearing these reports of people having to lie and cheat and you know, break rules to avoid hitting these, or to avoid taking hits to these metrics. Because I've seen people for this company do worse for less possible repercussions. And now it's you've kind of taken it and you've expanded upon it, where you had one metric that, you know, that's one thing. Now you've got 4, which just compounds the problem. Because unless, again, you hit a transaction that hits all of those things, you're going to take a hit. Like me, as a customer, I still shop at GameStop on occasion because it's a good place to reserve games at times if I want something on release day, as opposed to like Amazon, where I may or may not get it on release day depending on their shipping and depending on what their current policy is, because I've had issues with Amazon in the past. So I tend to aim for GameStop. But I don't trade in games. So I feel really bad because anytime I go in there for a transaction, I might hit 1 or 2 of their metrics, but I'm not going to hit anything involving their used games. I'm not trading in anything because I'm a collector. I don't trade in things now. That's not how I so any employee that I deal with is automatically going to take a hit in one of those areas. And it sucks. And it makes me feel kind of bad because, like, knowing this it makes me kind of not want to shop at GameStop because I don't want to just compound that problem to that employee. Because I know it's the employee who's going to suffer. I know it's not going to be typically not the store manager, definitely not the district manager, and not anyone higher than that. It's going to be that particular employee. And there are still really good employees at GameStop. That's one of the reasons why I still shop there on occasion, because I know there are still good people who work there. There were good people who worked with me. A lot of them got shafted because of policies like this. And it sucks. That me, as a consumer, my mindset is maybe I don't want to shop there because I don't want to dick over the employee because of a draconian sales policy that I know is going to hurt them because I'm not going to hit one of these particular areas. And I also know that, you know, if I go in and I get an employee that I don't know, there's a chance they may lie to me. They may have to, you know, at worst case scenario, they may lie to me to try to avoid taking a hit. Best case scenario, they're going to do the hardest sell possible. They are going to push as hard as possible to try to find something to get me to reserve something else or to try to boost up what I can so that they're not taking as much of a hit. That's the best case scenario. Because, again, they're not getting anything out of it other than keeping their job. It's not like, you know, if I go in and reserve 3 more games than I was planning on, they're not going to get, you know, a bonus to that at all. So, like, for example, my videos here. We're gonna use this as an example. I don't do this, but I probably should. because everyone else on YouTube does it. So why shouldn't I? I should, make sure to emphasize like, comment, favorite, subscribe. If you liked this video, hit the like button. Follow me on Twitter for updates. Or, if you want to help support the channel so that I can produce more content, better quality content, hit my Patreon up and, help support the channel in any way you can, or do fan funding, or, tips, or anything. I should do that. I don't push any of that. I really should. But how awkward is it for a hard sell of please like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Please like, the focus on that. How off-putting is that? And again, it's something I should do. I really should be milking the hell out of, my Patreon and, pushing for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, because all of those things, when you like a video, when you comment, when you subscribe to it silently boosts my channel up. It makes my videos more visible to the general YouTube audience, which in turn creates that snowball effect. Like you could not be subscribed to a lot of huge YouTubers like PewDiePie, Markiplier, anyone like that, but you can still see their videos because they're large enough that it falls on their trending algorithms. I should do things like that, and I don't, because I've been in that mindset. I've been in that retail experience where I had to do that to keep my job, and it made me feel dirty. Like, I know I need to do this, and a lot of my subscribers, a lot of my viewers, like, hey, yeah, you should push this more. You should advertise more. You do good stuff. You need to, but I hate that. I hate that hard sell, because I'm so used to having to do it in the scummiest ways possible, just so the company that I was working for could see a 50-cent increase in their bottom line. I hate that. In this case, the only person seeing an increase is me. So yeah, I probably should do that. But it's off-putting, isn't it? So my thing is, if you walk into a GameStop and you know about all of this, and I've been there, done that. I hate it when they try to push the sell that I'm not interested in. They want me to reserve Modern Warfare. I don't care. I'm not. That's not. Whatever AAA game that, again, I don't care about. They want to try to push that reservation. I know why they're doing it. It's because they need that number. That helps them in the end keep their job. They could be being watched by their manager at that moment in the back room, just watching on the security camera, seeing if they're pushing that sale just hard enough. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. I've got the T-shirt, actually. I have shirts from the events from GameStop. So, literally, I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. I hate it. I also know why they're doing it. So I try not to come down on the employees, unless I know unless I can tell beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are trying to screw me over, which has happened before. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know what they're doing, and I try to be as polite about it as possible, because I've worked retail. If you haven't worked retail, you'll probably never understand. But try not to blame the employees. Like I said, unless they are bold-faced trying to screw you over right there, probably not their fault. It's probably corporate. I'd say most often it's corporate. It's that mindset, it's that mentality that they just produce. It's terrible. So, like I said, if you've had any sort of experiences with GameStop, both positive and negative, about the Circle of Life, or any other, sales-oriented situation, or, a retail situation in general along these lines, let me know in the comments, because it's not a GameStop-only thing. It really isn't. Like I said, I've worked a lot of different retail locations, and it's pretty much the same across the board. That hard sell. And, as much as I hate it, like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Patreon, Twitter, that sort of thing. Help support the channel, because that's the point where we're at now. It really is. So, it sucks, doesn't it? It really sucks. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the GameStop story, or any of your experiences before with this type of retail environment. Maybe you worked retail. I know I'm actually pretty sure a good number of people watching this probably worked retail and have some horror stories. So even if you just need to vent the horror story, just feel free. And I will be back later for whatever rant happens to strike me at the time. So, till then, later, everyone.